all these harnesses for?
The almost people?
What are they? Prisoners? Are they meditating or what?
Well, at the moment they fall into the or what category?
Halt and remain calm.
Well, we've halted. How are we all doing on the calm front?
Don't move!
Stay back, Jen.
Hello!
Hello! Very, we sort of cut off the clip very early there.
Yes.
But that was just them arriving at the Rebel Flesh episode.
Yes.
In the castle.
So was that clip? I wasn't actually watching it. Was that from Rebel Flesh, or is
No,
it from
no,
the
that
next
was
episode?
No, that was just that was when they arrive in the monastery
yes.
of Rebel Flesh.
Okay, so welcome to Talking Who.
Welcome, and I'm back.
Episode 6, and he's back. Elisar, who last week regenerated. We went through. We had last week Jim Swallow, and the week before, who's your friend?
Dave Chapman.
Dave Chapman.
Yeah, indeed.
So we're back on to episode 6 already.
I cannot believe it's been 6
I
weeks of doing
this.
this.
I don't know which 6 weeks has been. What, 4 weeks for you? 6 weeks for me.
Okay,
4
but
weeks for
six
you.
6 weeks since we started.
Yes, but what I find bizarre: 6 weeks for us, or is it 5 weeks of new Doctor Who episodes as well? And
well, I know
the season's just been flying by,
and it's almost over. Really, it's 2 more episodes.
2 more episodes,
and then we have to wait until the autumn.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of Doctor Who fans are waiting to see this huge his exact words. Moffat came out with game-changing cliffhanger. And I'm wondering if this is going to be a noose round his neck, because it's got to be something epic.
Yeah, no, sure. I think there's I think the problem with the recent Doctor Who is the overhyping.
Yeah.
And I think it's like,
well, you say that, but Doctor Who has, especially, I don't think there's been any more overhyping than there was, say, in the 70s when Tom Baker and John Pertwee. I mean, a lot of fans today forget.
But with the
Doctor Who.
With the internet and news travelling fast, fans are more connected.
Every week in the 70s, the Sun newspaper and the Mirror and every paper would be doing huge features on Doctor
Absolutely,
Who.
yeah, no, they were big stories.
Every story there'd be a female guest star, and you could guarantee there'd be an article which her agent had mailed through to the Sun about how she could be the new Doctor Who companion, but almost then at the end of those 4 episodes was never to be heard of again in Doctor Who, or indeed anything else.
Well, indeed, yeah, no, absolutely. If you're watching on YouTube, obviously subscribe to our channel, Those Video Guys TV. We are on Ustream.tv.
We've got Sloopy in the message board. It says on YouTube and in Ustream. We've got a message board as well.
And on Facebook.
Yep.
We are live on Facebook.
You can come on the... Sloopy John is going on about the fact that in the States you get 22 episodes. Well, that's not exactly the case now. A lot of networks in the States are now going, like HBO and Showtime, are almost adopting the BBC method, where it's why have 22 episodes and have 4 or 5 episodes, go for a 13 episodes, longer shooting period per episode, and make them all good quality.
I'm actually surprised it's not a model that's been taken more by the studios, because actually there's far less pressure, because those big series, 26 episodes, they have to be hits.
Yes.
Because if they're not, they've just wasted a lot of money.
Plus also, if you're trying to get a big name actor like, say, Sean Bean,
it's a major commitment. Yeah.
In Game of Thrones, you could say to them, right, or like you look at shows like Dexter or something like that. Okay, have big name stars in them, and I think it's because they can say to them, this show is going to be filming for 6 months of the year.
Yeah.
So you've got 6 months guaranteed, paid for work, which will also expand your profile, and then you've still got time to go out and do a couple of movies.
And of course, what's really interesting is Torchwood Miracle Day.
Yeah.
Is actually 10 episodes, which of course is less than the BBC 13 episode runs they used to do.
Well, Torchwood, that's always been a bit like the last series of Torchwood was like 5 episodes.
Well, that was a mini series. That was a special. That wasn't quite the same format as a series. But anyway, we'll be talking a bit about Torchwood Miracle Day a bit later in our TARDIS talk section at the end, because
but now we're going to be talking about Rebel Flesh.
The Rebel Flesh, indeed. Let's have a still of that. Matthew Graham returns to writing Doctor Who,
whose previous episode was not particularly good.
It was,
to put it lightly.
It's the one that most Doctor Who fans actually hate the most out of the new Who era.
I would say it's the second worst. For me, it's got to be Love and Monsters. It's got to be the worst. I mean, that image of Peter Kay all greened up, running around in a thong and a cane. It's just like, what the hell was that about? But
so anyway, this is the I think this was the promo that was used by the BBC for the Rebel Flesh. So let's have a look.
There are people coming. Well, almost.
Almost coming.
Almost people.
They're monsters. Mistakes. They have to be destroyed. If we want to live, then it's time to go to war.
Hello. How are you all getting on?
Doctor Who on BBC One and BBC One HD.
There you go. That was the promo for Rebel Flesh. And what did you think?
I loved it. I felt this was a real return to it's been kind of like that most of the season. But this was very much old school, classic Doctor Who. The whole Under Siege storyline, the Doctor's and his companion, a great new looking villain. You say villain, but that's the great thing about the story as well. You have a monster, but you empathised with their situation.
It was. I mean, as I was watching it, and Frankenstein just came into my head. The plot line was Frankenstein.
For me, I instantly started thinking of Blade Runner.
Oh, Blade Runner. Okay.
The idea of they're a bit like replicants, where you have these the gangers are like replicants in which they've been artificially created, but then you have the whole ethical dilemma of these artificially created creatures and the whole thing of them grasping onto memories. Remind me of Blade Runner, and it also reminded me of John Carpenter's
But of course, that is still Frankenstein, because Frankenstein, the creature is created. He's a patchwork of different humans, but he's trying to discover what makes him human.
There's a whole thing in this, though, which is a bit like in Blade Runner, where they have false memories.
Right, that's right. They've been implanted.
And it also reminded me a lot of John Carpenter's The Thing as well, where they're under siege and you don't know.
You don't know who's the creature.
And there's the whole paranoia aspect, which was touched upon in this episode, and I'm sure it's going to be built upon more in the next episode.
Yeah.
And, of course, the Doctor talks a good game on the whole moral dilemmas and everything. It's now going to be interesting to see his own reaction when you've actually got a ganger of him, and what's his response to that is.
Indeed. Well, actually, for those people who've watched the one show, they may have actually had already clue of that. But you've got to keep away from the spoilers, which we won't mention because it is a spoiler, I think. Yes. But suffice to say that he actually quite enjoys it. Anyway, no, it was. I liked it. I liked the effect. When the Jennifer ganger does the bendy neck. Yeah. That just I wasn't expecting that at all, and it was that was the thing.
I love the production design of it. I thought that the actual acid suits, beautifully designed. They're kind of like they almost look medieval. They almost look
kind of like
insect exoskeleton.
It was almost like sort of spacesuits that you would get in sort of heavy metal magazine.
Yeah, and there was
sort
of
French sort of graphic novel kind of style.
As they were marching forward in those acid suits, there was something really, I felt, a very strong visual to that as well. And I just felt that this is a classic one of those stories, where it's got so many visuals going on in it. I think it's one of those ones that in 4 or 5 years' time that fans will still talk about and remember. It's been very, very cleverly put together by the writer and the director to give everything that the viewers would want from it.
But of course, it's only part 1, so we still have to see how they're going to follow up. And of course, we've had letdowns in the past where the second episode hasn't quite lived up to the first.
They maintain what they've done so far, I think we've got a real classic here.
And of course, Matthew Graham, who did obviously write Fear Her,
he also wrote Created Life on Mars and Ashes to Ashes with Keeley Hawes.
So this guy is he knows the fan audience. You could say, and I think he has done something that both new fans and classic fans of Doctor Who would enjoy, because it is very much a sort of classic Who type of story. They arrive. You actually open the story at the setting where it's going to be, rather than the TARDIS finding out and then the Doctor and the companions arrive, and they have to then learn what's going on, and of course there's a mystery to solve, and that is very much 1970s, 1960s even Doctor Who.
I was actually thinking more 1960s. It reminded me of the type of thing that you see Patrick Troughton. It reminded me very much of a Troughton type tale, but You know, I mean that in the best possible way.
Sure, yeah, and Matt Smith, you know, playing the Doctor in
I love
in
the
that
way,
style.
I love the
it's
way Matt
almost
Smith
Sylvester
plays
McCoy there.
There's something
He knows
about
something.
him.
He knows
But
something.
I also love it the way that even when they're stood still, and you've got Rory and Amy, and they're not moving. The Doctor is still constantly as if he's just has to move constantly. He's got this ball.
He's
of
got a
energy.
twitch. Yes. No,
Yes.
yeah. Indeed. Yeah. Yeah. No. It was fun, and of course we have the ending, and
Fantastic cliffhanger to it.
but not unexpected, since they'd actually 15 minutes prior to introducing the clone Doctor,
Yeah.
you'd had already seen the flesh with the "trust me," and you kind of at that point it was already obvious we were going to get a clone Doctor. So the fact that they kept it hidden for 15 minutes, like, oh, this is going to be the big reveal. It was it wasn't much of a cliffhanger in that regard.
It still did the job.
It still did the job, and you know, it was really good to see Rory get to do much more.
It was actually a great plot line for Rory, and seeing more Rory actually take the moral high ground. Well,
Rory is almost taking, because I suppose Amy has the is she pregnant? Isn't she pregnant?
Yeah.
Who is the eye patch lady? She's got a story for her. There's something they're building towards. So they've kind of given her that, put her in a box for we don't know what's really going on with Amy kind of thing. Rory has now become almost like the official companion. Yeah. You know, being the moral compass for the Doctor. You know, is he doing the right thing? You know, Rory, I've got to go and save Jennifer because you guys aren't doing it. Yeah. You know, that's what the companion does, and I think, you know, it's good. He's not playing second fiddle anymore. You know. So overall, yeah, very good episode.
Definitely gets a thumbs up from me. So
if it was, if we had 5 jelly babies, how many jelly babies would you give it?
I'd give it 4.5.
4.5. So you'd bite a head off.
Yes.
I would give it a 4. I think. Yeah.
So,
you know.
So where do you think, looking at the season's been progressing so far, where do you think we're going to be coming towards this massive cliffhanger?
Well, what's really been interesting, of course, is that, you know, we had the opening 2 episodes. Yeah. Big story. This is part of a story arc. Yeah. And now we've actually had, you know, we had Curse of the Black Spot, Doctor's Wife, and these ones, and these are all kind of really self-contained stories.
But I do see they're definitely keeping a dark feel to it all. There's definitely a feel going across them. But you're right.
But they're saving themselves for episode 7. They're not, you know, they've given us little things like the eye patch lady, whether Amy is pregnant or not, we don't know. They're dropping those in. So, but they're building up to something, but they're not. It's not quite the sledgehammer that you would have had, I think, in the past. You know, I like it. I like the fact that, you know, the Doctor's Wife especially. I mean, I'll hopefully get the chance to talk about it at the end, because obviously I wasn't here last week, and it's a great episode, and I really want to talk about it. But you know, that was great because it was completely self-contained. Yeah. You know, and you know there was no eye patch lady, and you know. They've brought her back for this one. I think we're going to get it in the next episode. But anyway, we have some tweets from some fans who sent us some tweets earlier. And
so what did they say?
At Time Geek, she says, the Rebel Flesh. The most Doctor is unnecessary, dimly lit, rehashed feeling Rory growing a pair episode I've ever seen. Not quite sure what she means there. Rory didn't die. Or he hasn't died yet. Maybe in the second episode he might die. And at a police box, the Rebel Flesh was very different to what I was expecting. It was a huge story which worked brilliantly. I loved it. We have the Almost People next week.
Yes,
should we have
the
preview?
Yeah, I have a plan.
You hurried me.
And it'll destroy them all. You're one of us, Doctor.
Doctor Who continues with.
Now, you may have noticed the date on that one for the Almost People says June the 4th. That was the BBC America promo. And they're going to be a week behind for episodes 6 and 7.
Really? That's going to really affect a lot. I mean, especially with our show.
Well, I know, and
Americans won't be able to watch your show.
So it's very interesting because they've decided. BBC America have decided, in all their infinite wisdom, that this weekend Americans shouldn't watch the second half of The Rebel Flesh because they're all going to be out having parties for the Memorial Day weekend, and so therefore they're not. They don't know how to work the PVRs and their Sky Plus boxes and watch it later, so they have to just delay it a whole week.
It'll be interesting to see how much the ratings are affected by people doing downloads.
But halfway through a story, I mean, that's ridiculous. And, you know, people do have their, I don't know what they called it. What's the Sky Plus box in America called?
Oh, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, anyway, they've got their PVRs. You can record it. You can watch it another time. If you're out one evening and you want to watch a program, you just record it. It's not that hard these days. Considering that most of the audience probably do. You know, I think it's a bad decision by BBC America, and I hope they don't start losing viewers because of it, because people are illegally downloading it from the UK. So, what have we got for Fandorica this week?
Okay. What
did you?
I showed last week. Bring it up. Let's have a look at it. Yeah.
You did show this one last week. Yes. I think this is brilliant. And kudos to the person who thought of it first.
Yeah.
Because now they've got a number plate which I'm sure is worth a lot of money on eBay. But I found something for you, Sean, because I know you're into your cosplay.
Oh yeah, I've seen those at lots of conventions.
Yeah,
it's a lot of girls are wearing those.
The Dalek babes. Yeah, yes. You've seen them. Have you actually met these particular three?
I have not met those particular three, but I've seen them at my own conventions, and I've actually seen them at conventions in Germany as well.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
So
and at Atlanta when I was at DragonCon. So I've seen, you know. I've seen them quite around.
And how do they compare to ones you've seen? This particular threesome here.
Looked about the same.
Really? Okay. Yeah. And of course, the best cosplay I've ever seen is this one, which is the Who Babby.
Oh.
And this is
isn't that lovely?
This is actually the same child who's been dressed up by her mother in every single Doctor's outfit, made lovingly by their mother. And probably their dad, who knows. Yeah. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, I don't think it gets better than that, really, does it?
No, it doesn't.
But you can follow the baby at Who Babby on Twitter.
How does the baby tweet? How can it even use a keyboard?
I have no idea. But presumably it's got psychic powers, being a doctor and all. But, you know, I think the parents of that baby should start producing a YouTube web series of the adventures of the young Doctor. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that would be a great fan-made video, and I'm sure people will be watching it. I certainly will. So there's an idea there.
Okay, so what are we reviewing for the video of the week then?
So, DVD review time. Well, another box set.
Yep, the Cybermen box set.
The Cybermen box set. Revenge of the Cybermen.
Probably the most disappointing box set.
And Silver Nemesis.
Probably the most. I've loved all of To Entertain's Doctor Who releases, except for this one was a crushing disappointment to me.
Okay, well, let's have a look at the promo.
Okay, let's have a trailer.
This is where we've parted company with the TARDIS.
He's dead.
As the infection develops, they've got a few minutes to live.
I don't believe you've got the plague here, Commander. Sabotage.
Doctor, she's not going to last long.
I know, Harry, I know.
Boga.
Of course. Planet of Gold. Cybermen. That's what we're up against.
We are destined to be rulers of all the cosmos.
You tried that once and you were nearly wiped out.
Because of Boga and its gold.
That beacon has to be blasted out of the sky.
Boga will be destroyed.
The Nemesis generates destruction. I launched it into space with an orbit that brings it back to Earth every 25 years.
What's really going on, Doctor?
Destroy them.
Destiny beckons.
I am beautiful. Am I not?
That lot were only the advance party.
Eradicate the human female.
Revenge of the Cybermen and Silver Nemesis.
Yes, a Cybermen double bill. So what did you think of them?
Well, Revenge of the Cybermen, I mean, I don't think it... I know for a lot of people it was their first VHS release. and that's I think it was probably my second or third VHS that I bought.
It's actually, although I have earlier memories, episode 2, when the Cybermen invade the base, is not only one of my strongest early memories of Doctor Who, it's one of my actual strongest early memories. I was having a birthday party that day, and we sat down to watch Doctor Who at the end of my birthday party. I think it was my 5th birthday, and that cliffhanger I still to this day think is one of the all-time best cliffhangers on Doctor Who.
Well, it's
the Cybermen invade, and it looks like they've killed everybody.
Yeah, now of course this was quite clever use of low budget in that they recycled a set from the Ark in Space.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, if you're looking at a show like Deep Space Nine or Babylon 5 or something like that, it's the same set week in, week out.
Yes,
and that
indeed.
is the big problem for Doctor Who as a science fiction show, is that each week he goes to a brand new environment. So that was just the producers having to find a way to economise. It was a very clever way of doing it that the Ark in Space set is reused.
I guess the thing is because we've been so used to just watching these stories again on VHS as and when they release the stories. You kind of forget actually there was some kind of continuity amongst the episodes. And if you watch them actually in the proper order, it makes sense why they go back to the same space station, because obviously that's where the TARDIS was left behind when they took the time ring and Genesis of Daleks and going on to Earth, meeting the Sontarans, etc. So it all, there's all reasons for that particular. But I Revenge of the Cybermen, I do kind of like it just because, like you, it's just nostalgic. It's just really nostalgic.
I have to say, I don't know why this story gets a bad rep. I really enjoy it. I think it's a great story. Cybermen look great in it. I think it's some of their best design. One of the best designs.
And of course, we've got the black helmet for the cyber leader.
I think that it's the first time they had a cyber leader. Before that, there'd always been a cyber controller.
That's right. Cyber controller.
I think that Tom Baker is really at this point really shaping into the role as the Doctor. His relationship with Sarah and Harry, it's fantastic. I felt the Vogons worked very well as an alien species as well. A bit like you had the Thals helping the Doctor battle the Daleks. Now you have an anti-Cyberman race, the Vogons.
Well, yeah, I really like the design of the Vogons as well. I mean, this is a coming out of the John Pertwee era into this era. There was a vast improvement in the makeup special effects, definitely.
What I really also liked about the Vogons, and it reminded me a bit like the Draconians or the Thals, and the Ice Warriors, where you have this race which is neither like good or evil. They're a bit like humans. You have some good Vogons and you have some bad Vogons.
Well, they just exist.
Well, it's just like the Daleks are bad.
Yes, I'm sure.
Sontarans are bad. But I like this alien race in that, depending on who you were dealing with, they have their own different motivations and their different ethics.
No, I mean, I've always really kind of had a fondness for this story. It's the use of the Cybermats, which I think is probably the last time we've seen them in that. We ever see them again until rumoured in 2 weeks' time. But anyway, it was almost again, it was sort of classic sort of. Who done it, didn't it? With the guy who's
the one thing which
who's a traitor and
disappoint me about this box set, and I'm going to get more into this with Silver Nemesis, is I always feel that To Entertain and the restoration team have done a fantastic job on the re-releases. What I was kind of a bit disappointed was when they did Ark in Space, they did brand new CGI effects for it, if you like that kind of thing, and I love that. And I thought they were going to take those same CGI models and redo the special effects on Revenge of the Cybermen
you're right, absolutely.
And they didn't. And I was mortified. I was very disappointed with that.
And they could have had a bit more special effects, I suppose.
They actually kind of worked that, but I just felt they were going to redo the Nerva Beacon and redo the Cybermen ship and some stuff like that. And I was a bit disappointed. But otherwise, it's a good story, and there's a very nice little documentary in which you've got Philip Hinchcliffe, the producer, and the director of the story, reminiscing about the story and telling some of their anecdotes from it. So, I enjoy Revenge of the Cybermen a lot. I was just a bit disappointed that To Entertain could have just added some CGI to it.
Best Doctor Who's just tweeted in something they've been blocked on YouTube, which is that's really strange. Is there any? No, is he not there?
Who's not on YouTube?
He's called Best Doctor Who. He's been trying to get in onto us on YouTube and he can't get in.
I'm tempted to try on Ustream.
I will now tweet.
Come see us on Ustream. We are. That's the great thing. We are lords of all internet media. So you can see us on Ustream. You can see us on YouTube. You can also tweet us. We've got a Facebook page, and we've also got our own individual Twitters as well, and
indeed.
also Talking Who Twitter. So you cannot escape us on the internet, I'm afraid.
I overall like Revenge of the Cybermen. It's a slightly hokey one. I think there's quite a lot in it.
I think the one reason why it gets a bit of a bad rep sometimes is because it's wedged between Genesis of the Daleks and Terror of the Zygons.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
are just two
fantastic stories.
Awesome stories ever done.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything in Revenge of the Cybermen which isn't as good as anything you'll see in Tomb of the Cybermen or Earthshock or Attack of the Cybermen.
One thing I hope that we see with the cyber leader in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh. That's what we need. We need an excellent.
That's a very emotive threat, or what the cyber leader in this one,
because
his hands on his
because
all the time.
These are supposed to be the same. These are the next evolution of the same Cybermen. So there's no reason why he can't just go excellent.
Well, you never know. I mean, they do a lot of nods to the old classic series. When the Daleks were last in, they were actually doing a couple of nods towards the Doctor Who story Power of the Daleks in it.
Indeed, no, absolutely, yeah.
So let's move on to Silver Nemesis. The
Nemesis.
Second episode, the second story in this set.
In this box set from the Sylvester McCoy era.
Yes.
I love Sylvester McCoy.
I actually think Sylvester McCoy is one of those ones who, when he has a good story and he's given good material, he's a great Doctor. And when he's not given the material, he can be an absolutely appalling Doctor. I mean, I love him and I loathe him in equal measures. I think Ace is always brilliant.
The dynamic, I think, between the Doctor and Ace is just great, and it's
there's a kind of dynamic they were originally supposed to have with Leela, and they didn't kind of follow through for it. But the whole idea of the Doctor as a mentor to his companion,
yes,
and I actually felt. There was all this stuff about Rose Tyler being the first companion who was an equal to the Doctor. I really felt that they actually did a better job with the Seventh Doctor and Ace. It was a wonderful...
You know what? Rose, to me, exists because of Ace. Yeah. I mean, Ace...
But I actually think Ace was better than Rose, and I was very sorry that they never got around to finishing the... Because you do know that the original plan was supposed to be, in the 27th season, Ace was going to be sent off to the Time Lord Academy
and
to become
have Big Finish done that? Have Big Finish done these stories?
I honestly don't know, but it was supposed to be a story which would have also seen the return of the Ice Warriors. And at the end of it, the Time Lords would have come along, and they would have said, "Fine, Doctor, you've trained Ace up," and she would have gone to the Time Lord Academy.
I mean, the interesting thing about this particular story is that it's very similar to Sylvester McCoy's Dalek story.
Yeah, except for the Dalek story is like 10 times better.
No, but there's a sort of similar theme.
Yeah.
Which actually is quite common in quite a few of the Sylvester McCoy stories, especially with Ace, is that something has happened in the past, and Battlefield, I think, also has this. Yeah. Something's happened in the past that the Doctor's been involved with.
Battlefield is actually something's happened in the Doctor's future.
That's in his future, yeah. So actually, they should go back to that at some point. Something's happened in Doctor's past, which now comes to head, and he then has to fix it. Yeah, it's a problem that he's caused. Well, he's got to fix it.
Well, in both Remembrance of the Daleks and Silver Nemesis, it's the Doctor has left behind a piece of Time Lord technology, and one of his alien enemies is after this piece of technology. I really have to say, Remembrance of the Daleks is one of the best ever Doctor Who stories. It's definitely
brilliant.
In the top 10.
It's brilliant, and I think also
I don't like Silver Nemesis. I think it's a bit of a mess. I think it's very well. I think it's brilliantly directed. The action scenes are very well done. There's some great stunts, great explosions. It's got a lot of action.
It is a bit
to it,
thrown in, isn't it?
But when you get to the end of it, there's huge chunks of it which don't make sense.
Well, of course, the Cybermen weren't even in the original draft.
Yeah.
They were just thrown in because this is going to be the official 25th anniversary.
The Cybermen, to some extent, it's like it's got ridiculous. All Ace has to do is just wave a gold coin in their general facility, and they just drop down like 9 pins.
Indeed, that's definitely a weakness in their chest plates. I mean, their chest plates is where you're going to get shot.
I did find Lady Penfold a fascinating character, and I just felt she wasn't developed enough.
Again, this is a character that obviously knows something more about the Doctor. She knows who he really is.
What I felt was that she was almost like a precursor to Madame Pompadour or River Song in a human female who's almost on equal terms with the Doctor due to her brilliance and her intelligence, whereas of course Lady Penfold is evil and the others are good. But I just found her a fascinating character and a bit underutilized. But she was what made she was the plus point for me. I almost felt the Nazis were like comedy. It was just like, needed a bad guy. Let's throw in Nazis.
So we've got Cybermen, Nazis, and 17th century witches.
But the 17th century witch worked. That was the one idea which worked in it. The Nazis and the Cybermen to me just didn't work. And
yeah, no, the story is a bit of a mess. But again, it has a great excellent in it. And
the one thing I'm going to have a little rant about here is the other really thing which made me a bit depressed with too entertainment here was Silver Nemesis. I wanted to see the extended edition.
Well, indeed, this was missing, completely missing.
I was absolutely fuming about this, and I actually considered even not buying it.
Anyone who actually owned the VHS owned the extended version.
I sold my VHS collection off. I fully expected
it would be replaced.
I fully expected this to be a 2-disc set, and I expected them to do what they did with Battlefield or do what they did with Curse of Fenric, do a extended version, a re-edit with all the cutscenes put back in.
Silver Nemesis special edition coming in 2013.
Excellent. And I was shocked. And
it was
very
surprising.
Disappointed.
And of course the extras does have deleted scenes.
Yeah, but
it's not everything in it.
They're missing several deleted scenes, but it's also, I'm not one of those ones who likes watching deleted scenes out of context.
Yes, no, I agree.
This was a story, and this was a big problem actually throughout Sylvester McCoy's run.
Some of the stories were too short.
Well, not so much they were too short, but Andrew Cartmel, who got a lot of praise from the fans, but he did show his shortcomings as a script editor here, is that a lot of the stories overran and they had to cut material out of them. And a lot of them, like Silver Nemesis, Battlefield and Curse of Fenric, which we still have the deleted scenes, but they lost all the deleted scenes from Ghostlight. A lot of the stories don't flow as well as they should do because there was just too much, and they were running like 30 minutes an episode.
Well, they weren't. They're about 25 minutes, aren't they?
Yeah.
And that's kind of an odd thing about.
No, they had to cut. All the episodes have had to be cut because there was just too much script.
Yeah. No, it's a shame. That's the major missing thing out of the DVD extras on this
It's also missing. There was an American-made documentary, which is actually a pretty good documentary, and apparently they couldn't get the rights to it. And it's a shame that's missing from it as well. The documentary they have on it is not quite as good.
Now, Revenge of the Cybermen.
Yeah.
The Checks, Lies and Videotape.
Yes.
Has that been on another
No, that's brand new. That's a whole brand new extra.
It just seemed I've seen it before.
No, it's definitely a brand new extra. That one is
interesting.
And to let you know, that's a DVD extra on it, which is about before videos, the official videos, and before long before DVDs, how Doctor Who fans would get to see old episodes. And it actually was a bit of an eye-opener because I used to buy pirate Doctor Who videos and get them home, and the quality was so bad.
It was an absolutely
unwatchable,
brilliant documentary, I have to say.
Yeah, but what got me, and I never knew why those videos I bought used to be so bad, have such bad quality.
You were a 10th generation.
I was like a 10th generation.
That means you're like really low on the pecking order of Doctor Who fans.
I was.
Are you really upset now?
Yes,
looking back at the people who thought that you only deserved the 10th generation copy. Of course, I didn't actually buy those bootleg DVDs, VHSs, but I did obviously buy horror movies during the video recordings.
I never had that problem with it. During that, all my bootleg video Nazis are obviously first generation copies. So obviously horror fans like me, but Doctor Who fans didn't.
But there was I think the Revenge of the Cybermen had some great DVD extras, actually, more so than Silver Nemesis, because the deleted scenes is a bit of a cheat, I think.
I really got the impression that whoever is in charge at To Entertain DVD, that they just don't like Silver Nemesis.
And they had to package it with Revenge of the Cybermen.
And it's almost like they just wanted to wash their hands of it, because they didn't do the extended edition, they didn't have the original document. There was just so much they could have done with that DVD release. And I admit it's not a great story.
Yeah.
But I did find it very frustrating the way they handled this release, especially after they just did special editions for Planet of Fire and Enlightenment, which were terrible. The re-edits of those are awful.
Yeah. Any fans in the chat room for these two stories?
One person said that
Who's that?
That there is a total. John the Renegade says there's a total overuse of Wagner in Silver Nemesis.
There is,
because of course,
absolutely.
if you're a Nazi,
yes,
you have to listen to Wagner.
It's the only music that Nazis listen to, apparently. But the actual, I thought the actor was great though, who played the Nazi. He was actually a proper German as well.
Yes, Anton Differing.
Yeah, Anton Differing. That's probably the best part, I think, is actually the making of Silver Nemesis as one of the DVD extras.
Now next week, of course. Next week, have you got your Mannequin Mania DVD?
I have Mannequin Mania, but
I've
I've been told by Amazon my Frontios is also in the post as well.
I actually picked up my Frontios today.
No.
I'll be watching that tonight.
Okay, so
I'll just to quickly say, after slacking off To Entertain for how they did Silver Nemesis, I've got to say, Spearhead from Space. Just a quick teaser of my review. It's the best looking Doctor Who story on DVD.
Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing it then, especially to compare it to my very well worn VHS.
Yeah. Well, it's because it was shot on 16mm, so they've gone back to the original footage.
The original negative. That's amazing.
And it looks... and I'm actually kind of a bit frustrated. I actually reckon they could probably release it on Blu-ray if they wanted to. The quality looks that good.
Could they do it in 16:9 on Blu-ray?
16mm you can release. The Doctor... just getting technical with you all. Anything that is shot on 16mm film or onwards can be released on Blu-ray. If a show is shot on videotape, old videotape, you can't release on Blu-ray because you can't do anything with the quality of it. That's why certain shows such as Star Trek, classic Star Trek, and The Prisoner, and Space 1999, which were all shot on film, can now be released on Blu-ray. Whereas Star Trek The Next Generation or Deep Space Nine can't.
Oh, okay. So me waiting to buy the complete box set of Star Trek The Next Generation on Blu-ray, I'm just wasting my time. So I should just go and buy the DVDs then?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. That's made my decision.
Doctor Who was another show. It was all shot on video.
Yes,
They could never release it on Blu-ray, except for because there was industrial action going on at the time, so they couldn't get any studio space. So the entirety of Spearhead from Space was shot on location using 16mm film. It was the only Doctor Who story shot on film. It
is a shame that they didn't record more on 16mm, because especially with you have episodes like Revenge of the Cybermen, and it's half and half, and you think, why couldn't they just? Because obviously all the cave stuff they have to shoot.
It's shot on 16mm, but then they transfer it to video for the editing process.
Right. Okay.
And that's actually what happened with Star Trek The Next Generation. Was shot on film, but then transferred onto video.
But they never kept the negatives,
editing,
presumably.
And well, it would be just too expensive to actually. And it looks like it's shot on mud. Star Trek The Next Generation. But yeah, that can never be released. The only Star Trek shows that can be released on Blu-ray are Classic Trek and Enterprise.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. No Deep Space Nine or Voyager or...
Well, I should be making my orders now for the DVDs, since I've been waiting fruitfully to waiting for the Blu-rays.
Okay, have we got anything else before we wrap the show up?
I want to say a few things on Doctor's Wife, because obviously I wasn't here last week to review it. What a great episode. And I think this is an episode that's really going to go down as being one of the best since the revival, really.
Well, that's coming from Neil Gaiman.
Yeah,
one of the world's top comic book writers.
You know, the scenes of Idris and the Doctor, it felt like she was talking, to the old man. Yeah. To William Hartnell, to the man who took the TARDIS in the first place, the one who's probably spent the most time as a single individual prior to any regeneration in that TARDIS. because obviously all the others he seems to kill off his body every 2 or 3 years nowadays. But this is obviously the one character, the first Doctor was the one who's actually spent the most time in the TARDIS. I thought it was really touching, and I was really, and the fact that they made it completely cut off from really any other stories that were going on. Completely, there was no eye patch lady. It was just purely self-contained. Made it, I think, even better because now you can really watch it without.
What do you think of the new TARDIS look as well?
The corridors.
Yeah.
The corridors were good. I'm glad we had corridors. I was hoping we might actually see.
We were actually discussing with
the
Jim
bedroom.
Swallow last week while you were in Cannes. Jim Swallow is actually a writer of the Doctor Who books, and he wrote a Doctor Who book, Peacemaker,
yes,
for BBC Books. And in that story, he opened the story up with the Doctor taking Martha Jones for a tour around the TARDIS.
Mm-hmm.
And the BBC said you're not allowed to put other rooms in the book. And he said, why not? They said there was only the console room and the wardrobe. He was only allowed to refer to things that had happened in the new series.
Which is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah.
And also, he made a couple of references to Star Trek and Martha Jones being a Trek fan, because the actress who played Freema is an actual Trek fan in real life. And used to attend Star Trek conventions, and they made him cut those out as well. And then they just recently had a reference to Star Trek on Doctor Who.
You know what? This is one thing that has been great under the new Stephen Moffat regime, is that the BBC have almost been forced to acknowledge the entire history of Doctor Who, which they've been trying to deny during the David Tennant years.
I got the impression during the David Tennant years, and first with Christopher Eccleston, what they did was they tried to act as if Doctor Who was the new Doctor Who was a solo entity. There was never anything earlier. And it was almost, I felt, around the third year, it was when they introduced the Master, it was like the BBC suddenly acknowledged classic Trek, classic Doctor Who, but I almost felt it was almost a marketing thing, as if, right, now we can release a whole new range of toys and trading cards and make you buy the DVDs and...
Yeah, no, it's those first few years were really odd, I think, in that they just tried to pretend nothing
ever. It wasn't so much it pretended, but they existed within a vacuum.
And on the website, the Doctor Who website, the classic was just shoved off. You had to find that little tab to the previous stuff just to, and it's like it hadn't been updated in ages, and it would just look really cheap compared. And it's just like, come on. I mean, I still don't even like the idea of calling it Classic Who and New Who. It's just because it's the same Doctor. How can it be classic?
Yeah.
It's.
It's a bit like I've been referring to as classic Star Trek, and it's just that's regular Star Trek.
It is. It's all part of the same thing, and it's like, but the Sylvester McCoy to William Hartnell, it's the same kind of time period.
Yeah.
But you would never. There was never that distinction then. So why is there a distinction now? And of course, Paul McGann is shoved into classic. It's not that long ago, really, and he was that real bridge. But anyway, we're digressing. Torchwood Miracle Day.
It's interesting to move from Paul McGann, the American adaptation of Doctor Who, to Torchwood Miracle Day.
Yes, the American Torchwood. And they released a trailer, and if you're looking for the trailer, it's actually on the Stars YouTube page. And if you go to the youtube.com/stars, if you're you'll get this message if you're not in the USA.
Yeah, because Torchwood is an American product.
Because Torchwood is now completely American, and therefore the trailer is not good enough for anyone who lives outside the United States. How disappointing.
Yeah.
How very disappointing. And I think it gives you a sense that really Torchwood, it's not really part of the Who universe anymore. It is now its own thing, separate.
I never really felt that Torchwood very much gel within the Who universe anyway. Apparently Torchwood was created by Russell T Davies. The show was originally been called Excalibur, and it was when the BBC wanted, it was during the second series of the X-Files, and the BBC wanted an X-Files British version of it.
Right.
And he did this treatment for a show called Excalibur, put it forward to the BBC, and they turned it down. And basically he used Doctor Who to relaunch this concept of his.
Right.
And although I feel Captain Jack is very much a part of the Doctor Who universe, when you watch Torchwood itself, there's no real, apart from they had a cyber woman turn up once, there's no real feeling of connection
Yeah,
to the Doctor Who.
And it's a shame because actually I think they could have done more because, I mean, I suppose really it's like
it's even the type of threats they face. Is when I watch Sarah Jane Adventures, that feels like it's part of the Doctor Who world and the monsters and the
Sontarans
villains.
and
well, she only really faced the Sontarans, but it's still when she meets the Trickster or something like that, it feels like it's something that exists within the Whoniverse or whatever it's called. Whereas Torchwood, what they were dealing with, it just seemed to me actually like I was watching a show that was just totally disconnected to Doctor Who.
Indeed,
anyway.
And I suppose the real frustrating thing is that it should have really just been a unit show.
Yeah.
But
I think it's a bit of a shame when you have a British product. We have so little product to call our own, and it's so often that we have something, the minute it's successful, the Americans just come along and take it.
Yeah, and indeed, and I think that's really what's kind of happened. Really, it's a shame. It's a shame. I think Torchwood, they weren't too bad. It's been quite good. I thought Children of Earth was a great series, but having watched the trailer for Miracle Day, I'm not excited. I'm not excited.
Actually put in the message board. Can't believe Stars are calling it an original Star series.
Well, yes. Well, that's about the same as Russell T Davies saying that he created Sarah Jane Adventures. Cool. And of course, then we have the Torchwood web series that's rumoured to be doing, which is, of course, will probably have absolutely even less to do with the BBC and the UK.
Apparently, Eliza Dushku might be appearing in it.
Apparently, but that's just a rumour. But anyway, we shall see. We shall see. Almost People, looking very, very forward to that Saturday.
Yes. I've got Franz Yost to watch tonight, and then Almost People to watch on Saturday, and then Talking Who the following Wednesday.
And a thought has come to me also that at some point we should do a tribute to Nicholas Courtney, who was unfortunately left out of the BAFTAs when they did the Those Who Have Passed Away, which I thought, considering it's a BBC programme, was really quite an omission. So bad marks to the BBC and BAFTA, but we will do our own tribute to Nicholas Courtney in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, we've only got 2 weeks left.
Well, we need to do a roundup, surely, as well. So thank you for joining, everyone.
Okay, so we'll be back next week, same time as always, reviewing the Almost People.
Yeah.
And so, what do you want to do? Do you want to review Mannequin Mania, or do you want to review Franz?
I'm looking forward to watching Mannequin Mania.
Yeah, so we're going to be reviewing Mannequin Mania. It's going to be so it's going to be all about artificial people, basically.
Autons, yes.
Autons,
maybe we need to
Autons and gangers.
Maybe we need. Well, yes, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Yes. Maybe we need to rewatch Rose again as well.
Yeah.
If once you've watched Almost People, send us a tweet with your thoughts, and like we did today with the Rebel Flesh, we'll read them out on the show. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Take care then.